Our true war does not rage in the trenches. It rages in the silence between one breath and the next. This chamber, this skull, this labyrinth of neural pathways, this is the only field that matters. I know the maps of the external world, the rivers, the borders, the shifting alliances of power. But what good is conquering a kingdom if the king within is a shrieking tyrant bound by chains of generational, unexamined fear? I am an individual who refuses the illusion of the outward fight. My armor is not steel, but integrity, the relentless consistency between what I know to be true and how I choose to act. My enemy is not flesh and blood. It is the phantom self, crystallized from memory and projection, shrouded in the robes of self-doubt, and poisoned by the sharp, toxic judgments I once hurled inward and outward with equal, indiscriminate cruelty. The siege is constant. It begins the moment I open my eyes, when the internal committee of critics instantly convenes. You are insufficient. You are fraudulent. This peace you seek is a dangerous fantasy. This is where true courage is required. Not the adrenaline-fueled rush of facing a visible threat, but the chilled, surgical resolve to turn the gaze inward. The bravest act is the willingness to look at the deepest wound, the soft, unprotected core of shame, and declare, I will not run from you anymore. The core battlefield is the mind. It is a brilliant, terrifying architect, forever building fortresses of false safety out of limiting beliefs. My most challenging battles are not against external critics, but against the foundational lies I accepted as absolute truth during childhood. The code that dictated, safety equals silence, worth is earned through suffering, love is conditional. To become the spiritual warrior is to become the relentless deconstructionist. I must be willing to shatter the very illusions of security that my mind lovingly constructed to survive. When a false belief is challenged, when I choose purpose over the comfortable habit of pleasing others, the self screams, convinced it is dying. It is not death, it is simply the collapse of a poorly constructed wall. And standing in the dust, exposed to the terrifying vastness of reality, is the first taste of freedom. The primary weapon in this war is not force, but mindfulness. It is the discipline of relentless observation. I sit not in stillness, but in motion, the furious, chaotic motion of my own thoughts. I do not engage the narratives. I do not try to silence the noise. I merely watch the procession of fear, attachment, and desire pass by like irrelevant clouds. Observe the anger. Is it truly righteous, or is it the fragile ego defending a perceived slight? Observe the craving. Is it fueling genuine purpose, or is it a distraction designed to numb the discomfort of the present moment? This is the forge where discipline is hammered into the soul. It is the practice of consistently choosing the hard path of awareness over the easy drift of ignorance. I must act from my own core values, regardless of whether the outside world applauds or condemns my choices. This requires absolute integrity, a commitment to being accountable only to the authentic self. There are days when the war feels lost, days when the weight of the world, or rather, the weight of the manufactured internal narrative, presses down until the light seems extinguished. It is in those troughs of profound self-doubt that the warrior must remember the guiding principle: love and compassion. I must extend the same fierce empathy to my own struggling self that I would offer a cherished comrade. The self is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a garden to be tended. The battle is merely the act of pulling the toxic weeds of fear and judgment. This path demands humility. How can I claim to seek truth if I believe I have already found it? True power lies in recognizing that I know nothing, that I am perpetually a student, standing amazed yet flawed before the infinite complexity of my own existence. This humility is the antidote to the poison of spiritual superiority, preventing the warrior from ever viewing others as less evolved or less worthy of peace. I recognize their struggles because I recognize the same primal battles playing out in the high-walled fortress of my own mind. The ultimate victory in this internal campaign is a profound paradox. It is acceptance and non-attachment. I have learned that I am not the master of external events. The storm will come, grief will visit, loss is inevitable. The illusion of control is the ego's final, most seductive lie. The warrior wins by relinquishing the need for victory in the traditional sense. The goal is not to stop the waves, but to learn how to surf them, to stand centered in the eye of the hurricane. to feel the full force of life's highs and lows, and yet remain rooted in a core of cultivated inner peace. The battle is never truly over. It is simply transformed. The warrior's gaze shifts from the personal siege to the universal connection. Having wrestled with and illuminated my own darkness, the purpose becomes clear. Service. My scars become maps. My hard-won awareness becomes the torch I hold for others who are still lost, wandering the dark corridors of their own internal prisons. I do not offer dogma or creed. I simply offer evidence. I stand as a living testament to the fact that the architecture of suffering, built from fear, habit, and self-denial, can be dismantled brick by terrifying brick. I offer discernment, urging them to choose wisdom over attachment, compassion over guilt. I do not force them into battle. I merely point them toward the only field where true, lasting change can occur. The spiritual warrior is not a figure of myth, draped in religious ritual, waiting for divine intervention. We are the architects of our own consciousness, the relentless engineers of inner freedom. We are the ones who, in the profound silence of our own minds, drop the false sword of external conflict and finally take up the only weapon that matters, the uncompromising light of awareness. The war against self-ignorance is the longest war, the hardest war, and the only war that truly saves the world, and it rages still. I stand ready.